Oh, hello. Welcome to another video. In today's Tabletop Impulse video, we're asking the question about apps for tabletop games. Are they any good? And I don't really know what this video is. Is it a shower thought, or is it a review of the new app for 40k? Yeah, it's probably both those things. So let's start with talking about the new app for 40k. There is a new app for 40k. I have it on my phone. Okay. It seems pretty good, all told. Okay, so that you go. Yeah, Pro. There's the app. It's got the core rules, and unlike the previous app, it's not just like a link to all of the. It's not just a link to the PDF. They're actually sorted, in little concertinas, so you can find the rule that you're looking for. So you can be like, oh, what's engagement range? Oh, engagement range is within 1 inch horizontally and within 5 inches vertically. That's quite easy to find stuff on there. So I know you can't see when I turn it to the camera. I don't know why I bother. But, it's got a core rules reference, which is good. It's not what I'd want to read front to back to learn the core rules. But I imagine it's pretty useful in the middle of a game when you're like, oh, I just can't remember. How does the shooting phase work again? So core concepts, mission armies, unit coherence, engagement range, battlefield, measuring distances, determining visibility. It's not going to show me the battle round, shooting phase. There we go. Took a minute to find the rules there, didn't it? And then we can go, the shooting phase. Select eligible unit, select targets, lone operative. Yeah, we've got all the things that we need. So I think possibly for looking up a rule in the middle of play, actually quicker than going through the big book. Okay, and then we've got to think about the indexes and the combat patrols. So if you go to the reference library, apart from the core rules, you've got all the indexes and as well as the combat patrol rules, and you can click on, let's go for Index Adeptus Sororitas, okay, and you can read the army rules. Acts of Faith, there it is. You can read the detachment rules, there it is. You can go through all the data sheets. Now, honestly, you're unlikely to go through the data sheets that way, I would have thought, right? I think what you're more likely to do going through the data sheets that way is great if you're sort of in bed or on the toilet or any other places where you've got your phone for company and you suddenly want to think about Warhammer. Happens to me anyway. But if you have Battleforge, you go to Battleforge. Now, I've made an army list, 1,000 points first list. If you'd like to look at my 1,000 points list, join the Discord. It's posted in the Army Lists discussion channel. Yeah, and I can see the things I've added to my list, and if I click on once, twice, I'm at the data card. So, if you had it on your army list for the whole game, you can scroll up and down your army list, and then to check something's rules, it's one tap to go into a sort of army building screen and one tap to go into the actual data card. If it was up to me, it might have a button to press on the army list screen that said, now we're going to play the game, that meant that you could cut down on that second tap. But that's probably just nitpicking. And then the thing I like about this is everything's linked. So, for example, I know that you've been doing this recently. If you're watching this channel and you care about 40k, you've been looking at the PDFs and you've been looking and you've been like, a rule. So, this weapon's got precision. What does precision do again? And then you go look it up somewhere. Well, in the app, you just tap on precision and then you get taken to a thing that goes, weapons with precision in their profile are known as precision weapons. Each time an attack made with such a weapon successfully wounds an attached unit, if a character model is in that unit visible to the attacking model's player can choose to have that attack allocated to the character instead of following the normal attack sequence. And that's helpful. I mean, not for precision, you probably learned that one, but there are some weird rules out there. So I quite like the app. At the moment it's free, so it's worth downloading it and playing with it. It's weirdly named WH space 40k. So it doesn't have the word Warhammer in its name, so it's a little hard to find on the App Store. But it's worth having a play with it, okay? I quite enjoy it. The Army Builder works really well as well, and you can get the Army Builder's output text to copy and paste into a Discord or a forum or whatever, or a Facebook group or whatever it is you want to do. So, quite nice as apps go. But what's been weighing on my mind is whether I'm ready for that all-app life. Because the index cards, the printed versions of the PDFs that we've already seen, are going on pre-order on Saturday. And all signs point to the pre-order being going to be quite fraught, right? Because apparently they've not made that many. Now, I do think that having the printed cards will be the quickest way to reference rules at the tabletop. There's one caveat there, but it will be the quickest way to reference rules at the tabletop once you've selected just the cards that you need and you've got them spread in front of you. I do think using the app is going to be fractionally slower for looking up rules. However, as soon as you want to look at the rules for, a rule like precision or hazardous or pistol or anti-chaos or any of those things, the app suddenly becomes much quicker because you're not having to turn to a giant book to find the right page and find those rules. So I do think the cards, though, win out on speed, but the app has a lot of other things going for it. So the app will be updated. Okay, so the app will be updated. You don't have to store cards in your house. I found this funny. This photograph, I've totally just stolen it from Facebook. I don't even know the person that posted it. But they've got a picture there of the Space Marine index cards. It's the size of a house brick. And, I'm not saying that you have to... I'm not saying that you have to have that at the gaming side table, because obviously you pick out the cards that you're going to use. You do kind of have to store it in your house. And if you only play one army, that's fine. But if you play multiple armies, and one of them is Space Marines especially, it's quite a lot of the space you could use for activities being filled up with index cards, not going to lie. Okay? If you go all in on the app, and you say the app's what I'm going to use most of the time, you don't have to buy the index cards. And so we'll talk about money. The index cards, we're looking at about £12, £13 for a set of cards that we think might include all of the cards for that. So the Space Marine pack might include the basic Space Marine set, and Blood Angels, and Dark Angels, and Black Templars, and Space Wolves, perhaps, but we're not quite sure how that goes. Now, as codexes come out, the free indexes will disappear from the app, and you'll need to input a code from the codex to unlock the rules in the app again. Now, I was going to buy the codexes for the armies I love anyway. It'd be nice if you could just see everything forever, so you could see your opponent's stuff more easily. I like buying codexes, I like reading them, I like reading the updates and changes they've made to the lore, I like looking at the new pictures and the hobby stuff that's in the codexes. I was going to buy the codexes anyway, so I kind of don't regard that as an extra cost. Now, there's also going to be an ongoing subscription for the Army Builder, and at the time of recording, I don't know if that's going to be bundled into Warhammer Plus or how much that's going to be. Now, the Army Builder is free at the moment, and we don't really know how long it's going to stay free, but feel free to download the app and have a play with it. Even if you think you might be interested, it's worth having a play with it while it's free, so that you might hate it, right? And then you don't have to pay for it. I'd hate for you to be in the position of later going, oh, I'll give this app a go, and you'd have to subscribe for it a month, and turns out you hated it. But I quite like it. I'm a Warhammer Plus subscriber. I think Warhammer Plus is a good deal, largely on the basis of the miniature, right? I like miniatures, and I really liked that the Assassin miniature they did, and the Chaos Terminator this year wasn't so fond of it, but gave it as a Christmas present to a friend who really loves sort of world eaters. So that I would have spent approximately that sort of money on the Christmas present for the friend anyway, probably. So yeah, I think. If it's rolled into Warhammer Plus, for me, it's effectively free. You may not be a massive GW fan and may not have a Warhammer Plus account, so obviously you're going to have to think about the costs involved there. As I've said, I like that I can tap on the app to get to a USR. That is the bit that is really selling it for me, which might seem a bit niche to you, but the fact that you can go really quickly from effectively the data card view to understanding what the Universal Special Rules do without having to go, oh, I'll look that up in this book and go to a book. So I think that's important to me. But I have to make the final decision basically during tomorrow as to whether I want to buy these cards, because I do think they're going to disappear forever. So if you've got some advice, I love a suggestion. Some people in this day and age get offended by advice. I love advice. If you've got any advice on whether I should buy the cards or stick with all app, because I'll probably have to pick one of those two lanes and stick to it. And then when the codexes come out, I'll have the option to go, actually, the app wasn't that great, I'm going to use the codexes. But Sister's Codex isn't going to be for a year at least. So I have to decide for this year, am I going to be an app person or am I going to try and get the index cards? Interested to know your point of view. I need some hardware, and look, this I'll go with the bottom bullet point first. This is not an advert. This is not sponsored. This is not even a recommendation. If anything, this is a request for recommendations from my lovely audience. But however, if Jeff Bezos wants to send me a free Fire tablet, then I will certainly review it on the channel. That's fine. But I am considering, if I go in all app, which honestly is the side of the fence that I'm currently wavering on, right? Because of the updates, because of the USR functionality, because of the storage space, and because with practice, the time to access the card would probably decrease over time. But I probably want a dedicated device. First of all, because it's a, you know, the thing, this that I'm thinking of is an 8-inch tablet, so it's a bit big. I mean, I've got a Pixel 7 Pro. It's a pretty big screen. I like a big screen. I'm a big guy, got big everything, big hands, you know. And I find the biggest phone screen is better, but even then, something a little bit bigger might be better and easier to read. And then for me, and this is maybe a weird thing just for me, but there's something really personal about if your opponent says, oh, can I just see that rule? And the only reference you have to it is on your phone, and then you're handing over your phone to that person. I mean, that's your phone. Do you know, I don't think it's crazy to think about your phone as an extension of yourself. Maybe you do think that's crazy. I watch, surely everyone on the internet's heard of CGP Grey. He's got a really good video about how not all locks should have keys and how it's really important that we keep our phone private, because actually your phone probably knows more about you than you do. Whereas if I had a dedicated device just for gaming, then, you know, it would have couple of gaming apps on, PDFs, you know, and a few other little bits on it, but it will be something that I'll be happily to lend to an opponent. So, oh yeah, you can check out that rule. Oh yeah, we can leave this sat down on the table. And you know, it's Prime Day next month. Yeah, I'm a Prime subscriber. I'm plugged in. If there's a hyper-capitalist thing that I can subscribe to, I'm probably subscribed to it. So I could probably get one reasonably cheap. Like the Amazon own brand hardware stuff is usually knocked down pretty cheap on Prime Day. So again, if you've got any thoughts about a dedicated device and you think, I am aware that the Fire tablet will need a little bit of a, I won't say a hack because it's not that glamorous, but you do need to do something to it to get the actual Play Store and not the Amazon store. But you don't need to root it or anything like that. You just need to download an APK. So, I mean, as a computer science teacher, that's not beyond my wit, but I would hate for someone who watches this video to go, oh, that's a great idea. Like, just look it up first. I think there is a trick to it, to getting the Google stuff onto the Apple tablet, right? But I'll let you look that up. This is rapidly becoming one of those annoying tech channels where, yeah, tech channels, one of those things that are like a necessary evil in the world. So let's talk about other apps, because it's meant to be a Kill Team channel. So there's a popular Kill Team app. It's just called Kill Team Scorecard. It's free. It's ad supported, but the ads aren't particularly intrusive. You can pay on a Patreon, but I don't actually think paying on the Patreon gets rid of the ads, which is a bit You think that was obvious. No, honestly, I've never used this app in anger. Ever, ever, ever. I use dials and dice and the TAC-op cards. But when I was making this video, I had a very good play with it. I'm very aware of the app because, first of all, because Andy Glasshoff I think, knows the guy that made the app. So he's constantly mentioning it. Well, not constantly, but at least half a dozen times he has mentioned it. And then also my friends Ben and Simon, from whom I stole this screenshot, who are guys that I used to play war games with nearly every week before I moved to the other side of the country. They always use it, and they're always sharing the picture. That's what this is, the picture from the ends of their games. I must admit, it does look cool. I'm going to ask Zimbad, we usually play on Fridays, whether we should use it. I did mention it to him the other day, and he was like, oh yeah, it's quite cool. But he's also never said, oh, should we use this? So I don't know. I don't take this as thinking, oh, Phil's got a beef with the Kill Team Scorecard app. I don't. I'm not, if I'm honest, I'm not 100% sure what problem it's trying to solve. I kind of suspect the problem it's trying to solve is I couldn't buy the Crit Ops card pack, and that makes me sad. And I have a Crit Ops card pack, and I had no problems getting hold of it. But maybe, I mean, the thing that has pushed me over the line personally is I love Kazakin, and I've previously have loved Novitiates, and this thing tracks elite points and faith points, and the little official dial for Kill Team, like the 3-dial triangle thing, doesn't have like a 4th dial for tracking your team-specific resource, if you should have such a thing. So that's what makes it appeal a little bit to me. So we'll have to see. But I'll give that a go. Not sure if I'll come back and do a review of it, because I think I am I'm relatively slow when it comes to the Kill Team Scorecard app. I think that most everybody else is. Although to be fair, people always say, "Oh, everybody uses that. Everybody uses that." I've gone to a lot of Kill Team tournaments. Maybe it's just a up top tables thing. Maybe on the top tables they all use it. I have never played an opponent that's insisted, oh no, we're going to use this app and it's going to be in the middle of the table and I'm going to track everything on the app. And about a year ago, I've played top players by accident. I played Spanish Carlos. I don't remember. Maybe that was before the app was invented. I certainly don't remember him whipping out an app and being like, oh yeah, we're going to use this. Maybe he was just being polite because he knew that he could see that I didn't really know what was going on. I don't know. But I've never had any experience with it in the wild. But having played with it, it looks pretty good. So maybe it can replace the set of dials and the D20 that I used to track my elite points and things like that. I think I'd still want the cards out for Assassinate Target and Headhunter and whatever else it was that I was having, because you got them in front of you. I don't know. You still need the deck, don't you, for the maps? If you want to draw your map randomly and draw your mission randomly and use the cards in the deck for your scouting options. So I guess it doesn't really replace that. What it's replacing is the little dialy thing. I'll give it a go. An interesting side effect of this video, and to be honest, it came about because I was like, I kind of want to talk about the 40k app and my own struggles mentally with whether I want to use it or not. But I'm supposed to be a Kill Team channel. I can mention that Kill Team thing that I'm dimly aware of. And then this kind of came organically from that thought process. Apps can't do both. So you can have an app that acts like a dashboard, or you can have an app that's a rules reference and a roster builder. You couldn't reasonably have both, unless you had another device. And that tends to get insane then, doesn't it? Because, it's perfectly possible that the chap that developed this could decide, you know what, I'm going to develop, I'm going to make a version of this for 40k that tracks CP, because that's still a thing in 40k. It tracks VP because that's still a thing in 40k. It couldn't track Faith dice because they have to be physical dice. But there's probably stuff for some of the other armies that could be tracked, and it could track things, I'm sure, to do with the deck of cards and the mission generation. But if you had that, you couldn't use it at the same time as the official app for your rules reference, because you'd constantly be opening and closing. And the whole beauty of something like this is that you could put it on the tabletop and have it visible throughout the whole game, right? So do you end up going, well, I'll buy an Amazon Fire tablet, and that can have my rules on it, and then from a scorecard app, I'll do that on my phone anyway, and I'll put the phone down by the side of the table. I don't know. That's just a weird little wrinkle that occurred to me. It's like, people say, I want an app. It's like, okay, you have to clarify. Do you want a dashboard app like this one? Or do you want a rules reference and army builder app like this one? Right? Because you could make one app that did both, but then you'd be continually flicking through different things to try and get... I think it was a version of Privateer Press War Room that tried to do everything. And I think, I'm going back a bit now, I just think people didn't like the dashboard part of it nearly as much. Right. That's it. Final thoughts. And this really is supposed to be a conversation starter. I want to know, are you buying the cards on Saturday? Are you putting your pre-orders in for the printed cards? Or are you planning to be an app person? Or maybe you want to reject what you see as a false dichotomy, and you want to explain to me why the app and the cards are valuable. I mean, if you're using the app as an army builder, but you don't think it's useful as a tableside rules reference, that's valid. You write that for me. Then I got an idea of what's going on. So maybe you're buying the cards as well. Maybe you think the whole thing's pointless because you're quite happy with the PDFs, right? I mean, the biggest problem with the PDFs is that they're in no discernible order, and so it would take a long time to actually... I certainly wouldn't want to have a tablet with a PDF document on and be constantly scrolling up and down the PDF. But maybe if you're going to do, like so many people, influencers have done, because they didn't have any other options, right? They had their early box, and then they had these PDFs, and that was it. The app wasn't out. The cards aren't out yet anyway, so they've printed them all, right? That's not free either. What's the cost of printing everything versus the cost of buying the ones Games Workshop has printed for you is a video that I think somebody needs to do once they've got their hands on the actual product, which is the index cards. We're talking about apps. Maybe there's some amazing third-party developer app that you want to recommend for Warhammer or for Kill Team, whatever it is. I remember a long time ago, there used to be an official 40k dice roller app. Please, God, no, let's not go back to dice rolling apps. That's got to be a bridge too far, right? But it existed. What about devices? I talked a little bit about this isn't a review because I don't own it yet, but based on watching reviews online, I'm considering and looking at price point. I'm hoping to get this thing for under £100, because if I buy one, Mrs. T.I. wants one too, right? So I'm hoping to get one for under £100. But if you have an idea on tablet, or if you own an Amazon Fire 8 HD Plus, and you want to be like, actually, no, it's not very good, buy something else, then you can mention that as well. That's useful. I've written, do you recommend any other apps, twice in two different ways, but I guess it was on my mind. And if you hate apps and you love Dead Tree Tech and you want to sort of go on about how that it's just, there's something viscerally life affirm, maybe Warhammer is your version of what the kids say touching grass. Maybe it's your thing where you want to disconnect from the world and you love the smell of books. And you want to read the books and roll the dice and talk to the person in meat space there about the things, and not have any blue light being shot at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like that, if that's you, if you're like a wargaming hippie, that's valid. And more power to you, and I want to know how many people that is as well, because that's something worth commenting down below. And I don't mean Warhammer hippie as a pejorative, it was just the best way I could think of surmising what it is that I meant. So yeah, loads of reasons to comment. Don't forget to like the video if you thought it was in any way mildly amusing, and if you like my stuff, and if you're still watching at this point, you probably like my stuff. Please subscribe. I like subscribers, And consider joining the channel if you want to give me money every month. That's cool as well. You get things. Click the button, read the thing, decide whether you have a spare £3 a month in this economy. For just £3 a month, you can help me purchase an Amazon Fire tablet. That's basically what we're asking here, isn't it? I think it is. Right, I think that's all I want to say. So cheerio. Have a great afternoon, evening, solstice, I think, perhaps. Whatever you are, whatever you're doing. Bye-bye, bye-bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye-bye, bye-bye.